We are at the start of an urban mobility revolution. The future city will look a lot more like Paris did decades ago, where work, home, and play are all within a 20-minute proximity of one another. You will not use a 2-ton mechanical beast to go 2 miles to carry back 2 gallons of milk. You will instead move much more swiftly on lightweight mobility. But before we start talking about the future of transportation, let's take a step back and look at a time when people moved much more freely. When the Vespa was launched in post-war Europe, it spawned a generation of freedom from heavy vehicles. It brought lightweight mobility to the masses, making movement effortless for everyone from young girls in dresses to grandparents with their baskets filled with fruit, heading from the suburbs into the tight medieval cities. Now, with that in mind, fast forward to the present, and we move less today than we did 50 years ago. Entire cities have fallen at the altar of automobility. We sit in a perpetual traffic jam. Now, having a 130-year history of building everything from planes to ships to motorcycles to the famous Vespa Scooter, Piaggio Group took a look at the world and they said mobility is not going to just be the autonomous car. It's actually going to be a combination of people moving on foot, biking, skating, scooting, to be able to do last and first mile commuting and short distance transportation. So with that in mind, they took a bet and they launched Piaggio Fast Forward in 2015, really to put the human back at the center of the equation instead of the automobile. And our objective was to build lightweight, smart products that helped people walk, bike, skate, scoot, and move their way through life. And really, the service of humans. We wanted to augment and enhance human mobility, not just help you be moved. And so our first product that we launched was Gita. Gita is a personal mobile carrier that follows you on the go. And my colleague Rosie here is going to help demo Gita. But Gita will follow you indoors and outside, up and down ADA-compliant ramps, and move with you wherever you go. In order to pair with Gita, you simply stand in front of the device, you tap the center button. I'm going to let her put in her bag. So Gita carries up to 45 pounds. The inside bin holds about 2 grocery bags. So you do 1 tap on the front, and then it will immediately begin following. Now, no instruction was really needed here. What's so great about Gita is that it's simple and that it's intuitive and that anyone from a 5-year-old to a 90-year-old can use it, and they've definitely tried it. Gita's really there to help enhance your mobility. And since we launched about 8 months ago, we've been testing it with everyone from millennial parents who want to go on a picnic and put all of their bags in Gita to a patient with arthritis and an elderly individual who just wants to be able to take their books and go to the farmer's market and spend a day outdoors. Gita's runtime allows you to actually go for a full day and have this as your companion. Now, we've been out in the real world testing for 8 months, and so today we're here to talk a little bit more about our learnings and findings of the importance of creating something that is simple and intuitive, and that really what it's going to take for products like this to succeed in the real world.
Building for the real world comes with a lot of challenges. We need to make Gita move for every type of mobility. Someone who is able-bodied to someone who is disabled. It needs to be able to move with swift agility so that it can navigate the crowds of a sidewalk on a city street, as well as go indoors and outdoors. When you come up to those kind of environments, you have to deal with anything from concrete and grass to tile and carpet. So Gita needs to be able to navigate every one of those situations. Now, a lot of people are surprised why Gita is shaped like a ball. Well, we did this to solve a lot of our challenges. So imagine you're at a street corner with a crowd of people, or in an elevator. How cumbersome would it be if a machine shaped like a box needed to take up additional surface area to turn around? Gita's spherical shape and 2 bicycle tires allows it to turn on its own axis, like we just saw. It turns just like that. It's also, a sphere is a more approachable form where people aren't afraid to walk up to it and glide past it instead of like giving it additional space. Now, Gita is unique, a unique line of a robotic vehicle. Unlike traditional robotic vehicles, it encourages people to walk up to it, pet it, touch it, even like hug it and take selfies with it. I mean, we don't see people like hugging and petting their lawnmowers or their bikes, but when we take Gita out in public, we see this happening all the time. Now, people go through several stages of emotions. They are pleasantly surprised, then shocked that it works, and then go through the motions of thinking about what it can do for their quality of life. We get every type of request what people would like to put in a Gita. Everything from their groceries, Gita fits about 2 bags of groceries, to tiles, to beer. Like beer is a big one that people request. But our number 1 request is babies. Please don't put your baby in a Gita, but think about what you would like to put in your Gita.
So the number 1 thing people say when they come up to us is, "It's so cute." Now, while a nice compliment, what it really actually leads us to understand is that people aren't scared of it. So we're just starting to see the introduction of new mobility devices on our sidewalks. There's everything from autonomous food delivery robots to other types as well. But what's nice about Gita is they don't yell at it when they see it saying, "Why is that thing taking up my sidewalk space?" In fact, they're very inquisitive. People come right up to Gita. The natural inclination is actually to come up, sync with it, and then do this with your phone and be like, "Is it still following me?" And people will go through and they're very excited to be able to have something new. And while still a novelty, people actually really take care of the device. So we wanted to give you a few tidbits about what we've seen and what people have heard. So 8 out of 10 people who walk up to Gita are female, which when you think about other robotic products, that doesn't normally happen. 2, the number 1 request regarding the actual device is to personalize it. So whether it's the color itself, it does come in 5 colors, but to give it its skin, people literally want a way for it to match their outfits daily. To be able to customize the interior of the bin, or they just want to name it. So it has a name, it's Gita, and people will say my Gita, but beyond that, they all want to name it something of their own as well. People actually do see it as an extension of their family. So when we think about selling a product like Gita, we really want to focus on multi-generational families so that it becomes a shared system within a household and increases utilization, or that it gets sold to, say, a doorman building, and there's a fleet of 10 of them shareable amongst a community. So when we were out in public one day, there was someone sitting on a bench, and Gita was following someone. And there was another bystander that came, and they were actually about to run up and kick Gita. And the person on the picnic bench noticed this. So they literally came up, and they actually kind of protected Gita from this person. And what that goes to show you is people really do see this as an extension of their family, and they don't want it to get hurt. And so they exhibit that same sort of empathy, akin to that you would do of an animal. So while Gita is not your pet, people in many ways do think about it like an obedient pet. And it's really its design and its shape and its form factor that leads it to do just that.
So we've been studying how humans move in order to design a machine that moves like you. We've partnered with the visual effects company called Framestore and used their motion capture array to capture how humans move. This includes everything from walking through doors to what is the most natural following distance. I mean, so what Framestore did for us is they used the footage that they captured and they developed a bespoke VR platform for us to be able to use on our team. So our team uses this platform to design intuitive, smart behaviors that respond to specific human movements. There is no library or pre-existing etiquette for how to interact with machines and how humans interact with machines. So we're studying a lot of these behaviors now. We're making it up as we go, gathering feedback and then iterating. So the images on the screen show you what you see when Gita is following you and you glance back at it, what you see when you're pairing with it, what a bystander sees from the side and a bystander's view from the back. We want to understand what communicates information most clearly. And we use these observations to position the lights, because we want to be able to communicate people when Gita is working normally or when it's in trouble, whether that's to you or to the people around you.
Now, when a car makes a right turn, it has a turn signal. But as Rosie alluded to, there's no library and there's no current machine etiquette. So when you translate that to a sidewalk and you have a device following you, how do I alert people that it's either about to speed up, slow down, or do any number of other things? And why this is so important and why we've been spending so much time studying human-machine collaboration is really because we have to create a sense of transparency and security for not just the user, but also the bystander. Because without it, nobody wants to share their sidewalks with something like a Gita or any other products that come to market. And so we have been focusing mostly on 3 modes of communication. Light that you can see here, it makes a set of sounds, and touch. Now, why did we choose these and how have they actually been working? We chose lights that resemble those of pre-existing associations that we already have. So many people, we use blue because it signals calm and restful, and this is in its resting state. When it's low battery, it's a yellow, orange. When it's red, it's an alarm state. So people naturally understand those colors. We chose touch, and really more importantly, not voice, which I'll kind of get into, but we chose touch because we wanted it to be as intuitive as humanly possible. We don't want you to think to need to use a Gita. We just want you to sync with one tap, and we want you to move the exact way that you were planning to already be moving. And so we have no gesture and no other sounds in terms of talking to it, because one, if you introduce such as Alexa or Siri, any voice-enabled services, the expectation of this goes up massively. With any sort of humanoid robot, people's expectations for what it can do go up immensely. The second thing is simply that if you're out in public, there's a lot of other sounds and people making noises. So it's extremely difficult to separate that from what is already happening. Now, we're about to be on the market in early next year. And really, we've been focusing on a couple key areas that we feel are important in order to make devices like this be successful in the real world. The first is regulation. We had our first bill passed in Florida recently, and we're proactively trying to work with cities to translate data and information that we've been receiving on Gita to let them know, look, this is what it's like to have a device like this integrate into society. How do we better actually put them together and make sure that we're transferring that data to other companies as well so we can work together? The second thing is multimodal transportation. In the future, we expect that people will, in fact, use not just a Gita alone, but that you may open up an app one day, tell it where you're going, how much you're carrying, and you will have a Gita plus maybe a little scooter and 2 or 3 other forms of transportation to move.
The third one is creating a sharing ecosystem so that we're minimizing bloat in the system. We're developing an app that allows you to invite your friends, your families, your coworkers, and even neighbors to use your Gita when you're not using it. The fourth is using existing infrastructure. So you can plug Gita directly into an outlet, just like you would with any of your other devices. So we're not creating any additional work for being able to have it. And the fifth is trial and error in how we integrate machines into society. Waymo recently gave an example of their autonomous ride-sharing program in Phoenix, where they had their beta testers tell them that they didn't like being picked up at the front door of a grocery store, which is counterintuitive, right? But they didn't want to be in the way of other people. So it turns out that social etiquette outweighs our own desire for convenience, and they ended up changing their pickup location from the front door to the parking lot where you drop off your cart.
Cities today are choked with traffic, And we really aim to create enhanced mobility platforms to help you move more for a future city where hopefully you can walk, bike, and skate and scoot for short distance movement, last and first mile commuting. Thank you.
Thank you.